Hi, this is Midnight Menu Plus One. I'm Ray Canada.
And I'm Margot Moss.
We meet here each week at Ted's Frost Top on Calhoun and Claiborne to speak to a member of the restaurant community. And we ask them to invite along a friend, a plus one. We never know who that plus one's going to be. We're going to find out in just a moment. We do know who our special guest is. It is the one, the only, Argyle. He is a graduate of the CIA. He'll explain that. He has also done just about everything you can do in the restaurant industry, and most recently at Commander's Palace. So we are very excited to have Argyle on. He'll be with us in just a few moments. And while we wait for him, Margot, how was your weekend? What did you do?
Well, I didn't do everything I would like to do. I didn't do anything I really wanted to do, actually. I really wanted to go to the gumbo taste-off, cook-off in the Treme Gumbo cook-off in Armstrong Park.
Right.
I did not get to go. Did you hear anything about it or go? Or?
No, this is my perennial problem in New Orleans. I walk around with a guilt complex all the time for all the ways I let the culture down. And I did it again this weekend. You know, there's like 35 meaningful things and fun things to do in New Orleans in a weekend, and I get to do like 2 or 3 of them. And no matter which 2 or 3 I pick, I always feel regret for the other ones, and I feel like I should have done the other ones. So I missed this one this week. But I did have a couple interesting food experiences. One of them that was kind of fun was there are some people from a magazine I wasn't aware of called Local Palate. It's new out of Charleston, and it's a really interesting, I've read an issue or 2 of it, a really interesting magazine. But anyway, for some reason they contacted me. They wanted to see the Man Who Ate New Orleans. So we went out to lunch, and we went to a Restaurant Revolution. Have you been there yet?
No. I would like to. What did you think? Was it
I really liked it. Now, part of it is I like every time I go to lunch with, interesting people, I like the meal anyway, so it's hard. But no, I think I can objectively say it was fantastic. Here's what happened. I wanted to get the Wiener Schnitzel, which was like an homage to Kolb's, Is that how you say Kohl's? Well, it was from before my time. How do you say it?
Maybe Kolb. Kolb, it's got to be.
That's all right. That's all right.
Argyle's here now. Okay, we're going to introduce him in just a moment. He helped me out. Okay. But anyway, we'll get to him in just a second. But yeah, so I wanted to get the Wiener Schnitzel, but they wanted me to get the oysters, and so I got both. So it was great, and they were paying for it.
Yeah, if they're treating, why not?
It was so awesome. They laughed at all my jokes. They wanted to hear everything I had to say about New Orleans, and they let me have 2 entrees for lunch at one of the best restaurants in the city that I'd never been to. It doesn't get better than that, and cocktails. And then so I thought I was living a charmed day, so I said, I'm going to try out this Wicked is this place I love to get like rockabilly clothes. And I went over there, and I said, I'm just going to see if they're open because they're often not. And I ran over, and I said, I'm going to get a bowling shirt I was thinking of. I've been looking at for a while. I said, I just got a free $50 lunch. Why don't I get 2? And then I went to bring them up, and the guy rang me up, buy one, get one free.
So you got treated to a beautiful lunch.
It's one of those days.
Great people, and
yes.
Buy one, get one free bowling shirt.
Yep. I think that was all to prepare me for election night. Well, anyway, we need to get to Argyle. You don't want to hear about any of that. That's not why you're listening. Argyle, welcome. Thank you for coming on our show.
Oh, thanks for having me on. I don't want to say quite a dream come true because I never got quite that far in dreaming.
Wow. Well, you just wait. You have no idea. All right. So tell us what you do at Commander's Palace.
Well, I do a number of things. Mostly I work as a captain on the floor, basically a glorified waiter. I work with 1 or 2 other people and make people happy.
Yeah.
Find out what they want, bring it to them, and try to anticipate what they want before they even know that they're anticipating it. So you just make it happen.
Huh.
And if you get a little crazy about it and you pay really fanatical attention to the details,
right,
magic happens. It really does. I've seen it on their faces, and I see it when people ask for me or ask for whoever waited on them last time because they had such a good time then, and they want to do it again. Some nights I wait on the chef's table. Yes. Some nights I supervise in the dining rooms as well. I do a little bit of that. And when if I'm there, I'm always on call as a sommelier because there's always a call for it. And we've got 4 certified sommeliers on duty at Commanders, which is...
Now, you're certified the Court of Master Sommeliers, right?
That's right.
Now, tell us about that. What does that entail? How does that happen to somebody? It sounds really impressive. How does that happen?
Well, it's said that there's 4 levels of certification that the court actually offers. And basically, you study about wines, you memorize it, you measure the geography, and you start paying attention to the flavor profiles on the various grapes. And you start realizing how terroir plays into it, the minerality, aromatic types versus not aromatic types. It just goes on and on and on. There's 4 levels of certification you go through to prove that you actually know what you're talking about. I have a what's called a certified sommelier, which is a second level sommelier. And like I said, there are 4 of us who are certified at Commanders, which is a lot for one restaurant. We've probably...
Would there be anywhere in town that has more than that?
No.
That's probably the most, right?
I frankly don't know of anywhere else in the country that has more than that.
Wow.
It's like I said, it's absurd. We've had over 100 people go through the introductory program. Okay. Probably a good 40 to 45 of them are still with us now.
Now 100 since you've been there?
Yes.
Wow.
How long have you been there?
I've been there just about 6 years.
So in 6 years, you worked up to captain, or did you come in as what does that mean when you...
When you start off on the floor working in wait staff, you generally start off as a back waiter. And in Commanders, this means you take care of making sure the tables are reset, take care of water service, bread service, and you do the dessert service as well. And then you progress up, so you're taking care of the drinks and such as you learn them, unless you know them already, just a little faster. And we call it a front waiter. And a front waiter, the next step up is a captain. So there's 3 separate areas of service that are handled by the team. And the higher up you are, the bigger the responsibility is, because you don't just do your little slot. You do your slot, and you cover the rest that doesn't get done for everyone else who's working with you. That's just how it goes. I've been in this business, oh Lord, I've been in it pretty much since 1972. And I went to the Culinary Institute and graduated in 1979, so I've been playing it for rather a while. And I've tried getting away from it, and I can't do it.
Now, why do you try to get away from it?
Because there was a time...
What's bad about it? You seem so happy when you're doing it.
It's quite true. I stepped away for a little while because while I could see things happening, I kind of lost touch with the reality of it. Because you're putting things together in people's minds. This is not something you can touch. You put things together and you hope it works, and when it works, you watch them light up. And it's almost like conjuring. I also went back and forth after the Culinary Institute because I also cooked for several years. I was executive chef with Marriott for 12 years in Manhattan. And at one point, I simply had to step away from the business. And part of taking it seriously is that I know that if I'm cooking, I have somebody's health in my hands. And if I mess up, they're going to get hurt. And you never want to do that, ever. So I took a little hiatus. I took a desk job for a while, gained about 35 pounds. Got very proficient with Excel.
You gained weight when you went away from the restaurant business.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow,
Absolutely.
no, we don't hear that. We hear the opposite sometimes.
Well, yeah, but when you're the desk job, you're sitting down. And a restaurant job, you're running around.
So that goes to my theory anyway, but that's another. I walked everywhere I eat, and I think I can eat whatever I want as long as I walk there.
Exactly.
So you're basically saying you can eat whatever you want as long as you're serving it.
You're right back off. I'll tell you, the stairs are your friend.
Oh, yeah.
You may hate them at the time, but they are your friend overall.
Right. Interesting. So you left and then got pulled back in again. Mm-hmm. Now, how'd that happen?
My wife got a teaching job in Oswego, New York, which is right up on Lake Ontario.
Yeah.
It's an area that is absolutely gorgeous. It has about 35% unemployment. I got a temporary job on the campus for a whopping $7 an hour, and I've got a degree in this stuff. And that lasted about a year.
You got a degree in?
In culinary arts.
At the university where she was teaching?
No, in the CIA.
Oh, that's what the CIA
Culinary
is.
Institute of America. We had those initials first, by the way.
Oh, so you're not trained with firearms?
No.
You're not. You don't have any secret identities.
I can't kill you with a pinky or a harsh look. No.
But you can cook up some mean food.
Yes, I can.
Wow. So do you still practice that? I mean, do you do a lot at home?
Oh yeah.
You ever fill in at Commanders? They ever have like you ever have like somebody get?
I've thought about that. One of the things that they do suggest is that, particularly for captains and waiters, is to put in a shift or two on the line. Because that way you start knowing the food in your fingertips, and it gives you a lot more knowledge and understanding of the food, so you can speak about it in an authoritative manner and be right. Well, I got my degree essentially in culinary arts, and while my wife is a better baker than I am, I do most of the cooking at home.
Oh, wow.
And that's usually just the two of us, but it has been for as many as 50.
How many nights do you actually get to eat at home? working at Commander's.
Not terribly many. It's mostly lunches.
So do you actually get sick of the food at Commander's ever? Do you go, oh no, not that again? Do you do family meal there, or you end up doing? You try pretty much everything on the menu.
It's mostly family meal.
Yeah.
The menu, you never get tired of seeing it.
Yeah.
It really is that good. You get used to seeing it, and it's easy to take really good food for granted, and it's a mistake whenever you do it.
Well, that's interesting that they recommend they would like you to do line, because I haven't really thought about that. I know, eating the food together, family style, is great, or tasting everything before makes sense. But that even makes more sense because it also gives you an appreciation for what they do in the kitchen. I mean, not you have experience, but
right.
For some of the younger waiters to see, because I'm curious about that too. Y'all work the front of the house, and people come in, and they come in to have an experience and a dining experience, and that is presented by you and the people that they see.
Mm-hmm.
And then the people in the back of the house, do they feel that people are coming in just to dine, and that's why people, like, is there ever any I don't want to say tension, but like
there actually is a natural tension in the business between front and back of the house. That has always been there and probably always will be. Although at Commanders, they work to actually keep that down. For one thing, the kitchen is open. If you want to come in and have a drink at the bar, you go through the kitchen. That's just how it is. It also reminds people that their food's coming out of a clean place, made by people who are very intent on what they're doing, and the cooks get reminded that they're not just putting food out into a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
They see the people, and you develop a bit of a relationship that way. It's a much more organic whole. I mean, frankly, I would love to see the sous chefs, when they get their promotion, do stagiaire shifts on the front of the house floor.
Huh.
Especially if they never have, because it's something they need to see, because it's the other half of the picture. And when you have both halves put together, it's an incredibly empowering thing.
Wow. So does that mean that because even though it's innate, that front of the house and back of the house, but by having an open kitchen, like you said, and more crossover, does that definitely minimize the discrepancy?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the rule is you get one team. Everybody plays a different part on it, but it's one team together. And when it clicks, it is truly astonishing, the wonderful stuff that comes out.
Well, now, Argyle, I want you to clear up an astonishing thing for me. Well, anybody that's ever eaten at Commander's Palace has been amazed. I mean, there's a lot of amazing things about it, but maybe the most amazing thing I've wondered about and never had an answer for. My wife and I still talk about this. Our 20th wedding anniversary, you may remember that night. We had the chef's table, and we got to spend about 4.5 hours with you, which was great. and it was magical, and one of the great nights of our lives. But we're back in the kitchen for 4.5 hours, or whatever it was, 4 hours. And, there wasn't a loud word spoken. There wasn't any arguments back there. And I'm watching Treme last Sunday, the TV series, and they're screaming at each other in the kitchen, and chaos is happening, raining. And you'd expect that in the kitchen, I would think, behind the scenes. But it was whisper quiet.
It's almost Zen-like, right?
Yes, Zen-like. And
how's that?
How do you keep that up all day? Because there's always somebody at the chef's table, so it can't just be for that audience.
Nope.
That's how it really is. Now,
yeah.
Do they just fight somewhere else? Do they make you go into a storeroom to fight? I mean,
have you ever seen a
there have to be
breakout?
arguments at Commanders. I mean, the level of excellence is so high. There's got to be a lot of tension at times.
It's a lot of focus. It's a lot of focus, and we hire with that in mind.
Huh.
That's part of it. Secondly, none of us will put up with it or any kind of that nonsense, because we're there about the food and the people,
right,
and the whole experience. That's what it's all about. And if somebody is going down because they simply can't keep up with it, people jump in and help.
Huh.
It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, if I'm working the chef's table and the runners have a hit where there's simply food's coming out faster than they can take it, I'll grab trays and start running it. If something's on the floor, nobody else gets there first, the chef will pick it up.
Right.
Nothing in the restaurant is beneath anyone who works there.
Right.
because we're
It's
all there for the
wonderful.
same thing.
Yeah.
And when you do that and you make it all about the food, all of a sudden it's not about personal drama.
Right.
Now, personal drama is what sells on television. So that kind of reinforces a lot of negative stereotypes, which unfortunately there are some places that are like that.
Yeah.
But you don't want to eat there.
Right.
And I don't want to eat there.
Well, I mean, I would think though that restaurant people, my experience has been very creative people. Creative people can be, have their own way of looking at things, and you get a bunch of creative people together, and you'd think there'd be conflict. I'm just amazed that you could run at such a high level without any. I mean, you've never seen a big fight at Commander's,
No.
really.
No.
Wow, that's a testament to the spirit of the place, and that's really amazing.
Yeah. It's an amazing place. It really is.
So I want to know, have you seen anything unbelievable at somewhere else where you worked, when you were an executive chef at Marriott, or what was there anything that stands out as that you were like, ooh, I cannot deal with this on a day-to-day basis, or
Oh, as far as, interpersonal garbage and that sort of stuff?
yeah.
There are a couple of Chinese places that I stopped going to in New York. Most places, if they're at all successful, have figured out how to keep the drama under control.
Okay.
Because if you're not about the food, what do you got?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's about time for our special guest, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. Now, who'd you bring? Why don't you introduce him?
I brought in a colleague of mine. He's also at Commander's, and his name is Tree.
Tree?
Tree.
Yep.
All right. So we got
Spelled the
Argyle
same
and
way?
Tree. Tree.
Yes.
All
Like
right.
partridge in a pear.
Now, were you born with that?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. So your parents were interesting people.
They are.
Were they hippies?
That's oftentimes what the first thought, I guess, people go to. And while they did meet each other in a commune-like setting, in what most people refer to as the Summer of Love.
Okay, they were hippies.
Right.
Cut it out.
Yeah, what are you going to say? But they're not hippies?
Well,
They,
I think they thought they were for a short period of time. However, by and large, I think that the origin of my names actually comes from something a little bit farther back in my mother's timeline. So it really had less to do with the fact that they were kind of experimental and experimenting in the day, and more to do with the family, roots, as it were.
All right, so you got a sister named Cloud and a brother named...
I know. You'd think. It's actually my sister's name is Emily. My brother's name is Jeremy.
Joe.
So, yeah, exactly.
Well, okay, so your answer is, yes, they were hippies, but that's just coincidental to your name being Tree. You would have
Yes.
been Tree anyway. If they'd been
Right.
preppy stockbrokers, your name would have been
Exactly.
Tree too.
Still,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
and
got
what
it.
do you do? What is your position at Commander's? Are you...
Well, I think I might have heard earlier the three-man style of service that the Commander's uses, which in my opinion separates them from most fine dining establishments. Usually most places use a two-man style.
Okay.
That third man, that person in the middle, is what I am. I'm that front waiter who's not the back nor the captain. I guess I would be sort of like the rook or the bishop on the chessboard. Able to move in places in ways in which neither the captain nor the pawn could.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's all.
We
Can you just
love
take it off?
animated. We love animated
We were trying to
talkers,
figure out what's going on.
Right.
but I
Right.
think, it was banging on the table.
Yeah, we have a rule: no rings at the table. No, that's
Yeah.
it.
Thank you. I would have never picked up on that.
I just noticed Mitch making a signal there. He's picking up something. So continue.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
the
So
rook,
basically,
bishop.
yes. I got to Commander's about a year after Argyle did, and I was hungry for that next step up, having spent my whole life in the restaurant business as well.
Where were you before Commanders?
Everywhere. Before Commanders, I was working on a cruise ship in the South Pacific.
All right.
For Norwegian cruise lines. Again, using that two-man style of service. And, just quite really wasn't satisfied with what I had experienced so far. And so there was that need, that desire to keep searching. And then when I ran into Commander's Palace and to Argyle, I realized I had kind of found.
So Argyle's the one that recruited you for Commanders?
No.
Oh.
No, it was completely coincidence
Not
that I
that
wound
good.
up in New Orleans. It's just that when I got to Commanders and began to meet very talented, eclectic people such as Argyle, who have been in the business and, like he said, had come and gone, realizing ultimately this was, in fact, the calling when nothing else satisfied. You know, you're kind of reaching that point in life where you're making that turn and you're trying to decide, okay, well, you know, where can I find a place where I can do this forever? And so I got to Commanders and started meeting guys like Argyle, whose wealth of knowledge was just seemingly infinite. You know, I mean, how to properly lay a tablecloth down to achieve a look, a feel in a room that creates the magic that he was speaking of. When there's somebody who not only knows how to crease that tablecloth in such a fashion that it's seamless with every other tablecloth, making it look all as one, as well as the infinite knowledge he has on beer, wine, cheese, food, oxygen, you name it, whatever.
Geopolitics.
Yeah, geopolitics, whatever. I mean, it was just like, starstruck, you know, and I realized I had found a place where I could call home. And,
great. So you had people you admired that were doing, they're working there, that you could sort of look up to, and and then you can add your your ingredient to the gumbo there.
Because you know you'd been out there and you're languishing around in the you know the nether regions and the lesser restaurants of the world, you know, hungry for something to make it feel real, so that you're not the brunt of every father-in-law's joke. Oh, my daughter's dating the waiter. You know what I mean? Right. You know what I'm saying? Those jokes. He flips burgers for a living. You know what I'm saying? Demeaning the very work that I felt most passionate about. And so how do you get to that point where you hold your head up when you go out in the public? You know what I'm saying? I pay my bills. I have a house. You know, I got 2 cars. It's all paid for. You know, but none of that matters because you're a waiter. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but
less of that than
I grew up here.
You're absolutely right about that.
I think people in New Orleans understand more.
You're absolutely right.
And that was going to be my next question, is where y'all are from. Because to me, I grew up here, and to me, I mean, my dad is not around, but he would be proud if I was going out with a waiter in this city. I mean, so I don't, but I'm sure... I believe you, and I understand that. I know a lot of places aren't like the food isn't the culture and have the soul that it does here. So,
well, it's simple. In New Orleans, unlike most of the country, being a waiter is an honorable profession.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you go to New York and Los Angeles, even more so. They're actors waiting for their break, so they're doing this instead.
Right.
And you get some variation on that in a lot of places. But if you take it seriously, professionally,
it's European here, right? Like,
very much so.
I mean, that's
very much so.
What I realized when I traveled was that people have this same passion and pride, and
you know, it's funny. When I moved to New Orleans, we my wife got a job offer from UNO. And we wound up moving down because of that. This is right after Katrina.
That's why you came? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I wanted to move here since I was 6, and life finally said yes. But we went out to the old College Inn for dinner the first night we were here. And I've never been in New Orleans in my life. I've been in the city for maybe 6 hours at this point. And I had a discussion for about 45 minutes on the various qualities of the various degrees of cooking of roux. With the guy sitting at the bar next to me, I said, I'm home, man.
Right. This is what I'm talking about. Right.
This is so funny. We've had so many, you know, I think every guest we've had so far on the show, and it hasn't been intentional, but every guest has been someone who didn't grow up here, you know? And yet found something beautiful about this place and fell in love with it and wanted to learn from it and then add their own ingredient to it. And that was my experience. And I was here about a minute, and I realized like I need to be here for the rest of my life.
Right.
And it just snaps for certain people. There's certain people sort of in their DNA, huh?
I concur with that.
I love hearing that story. So you feel that way too, huh?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So you visited here probably through the cruise ship, or was that how you first visited? Or
no, it was from a cruise shipmate. A shipmate had said, "You've got to come try New Orleans." You know. And as a result, you know, I got here and now I can't even leave.
This place spoils you to the rest of the country, doesn't it?
My mom says, "Oh, you got 4 days off. Why don't you come visit me?" I said, "No, I don't think you understand."
Come visit me.
Yeah, right, exactly. And that's the way it is. That is the way it is.
Where's your mom? Where do you?
Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfectly wonderful place, but not New Orleans.
But not a food-centric town. No.
Or music-centric,
or anything. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Spot on.
Yeah.
Spot on in that.
Is that where you grew up too? You grew up in Richmond?
I would have to say primarily. You know, when my parents split, my father went to Florida, my mother went to Virginia, and it was the impetus for my bipolar Southern growing up. You know, Jacksonville, Richmond, you know, Newport News, Orlando. You know, bounce. Right.
Well, let me ask you what I was going to. Oh, okay. So we talked about the name Tree, and I came in wanting to ask about Argyle. Now, how'd you get the name Argyle? Is that a family name too? Are you Scottish?
It's a family name. I am absolutely not Scottish. I am ethnically mostly Swedish, which I didn't really understand until I was in Scandinavia.
Well, I'm part Norwegian, so I hate you now. I'm just kidding.
Come on.
Norwegians are jealous of Swedes because they get older.
Every year. But yeah, I met my doppelganger. All right, he's on the ferry coming back from Gotland. He just a little less of a mustache, with the same hairline, same style of clothes, same basic build, same eyeglasses, except he spoke fluent Swedish. But I had a grandmother about 5 generations back who liked the name, and it's been in the family ever since.
Wow.
Huh. They always change the middle name, so there's no numbers, no juniors, no seniors, none of that nonsense. But my dad is Argyle Roderick. My grandfather was Argyle Meekham.
See, those are all Scottish names, though, aren't they? Isn't Meekham Scottish too? I feel like it is.
It might be. I honestly don't know.
And Roderick sounds Scottish to me too, to be honest. I think they're hiding something
British
from
Isles. You. They wouldn't surprise me either.
Now, what did the mailman look like? Did he wear a kilt?
Oh God. Oh yeah. Well,
now, is your wife a big eater too? Now, I ran into you once at Bayona, and you were there dining with your wife.
Yep.
And it was my first meal at Bayona. I'd been in New Orleans about a year or two. So, like I said, I got here about the same time you did. So this would have been about 2008. But I knew who you were. You were already a celebrity, and I in my mind. And I looked over, and I saw you smiling broadly, and I knew either you're having a great conversation with your wife, or the food was really good, or both. But I was hoping
actually both.
Yeah, and I had the best scallops of my life for lunch there at Bayona. And on the way out, I think I said that to you. But but that's a good sign. You walk into a place, and Argyle's already there, and he's smiling big on his day off. He's choosing to eat there.
Yeah, Bayona is one of my favorite places to eat out when I can.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen often enough. So I figure if I get there once a year, I'm doing good.
So is your wife a big foodie? You said she bakes better than you do, but she's been around you for a while.
Goddess.
So how long have you been married?
We're going on 28 years.
All right.
Not fatal yet.
And you were saying, Tree, that to meet a woman, I'm getting a little tongue-tied here. That you're giving me a great look. I know they can't see it on the radio.
He's got piercing eyes.
He does. I'm a little lulled here. I was going to ask you, were you seeing a woman before you moved to New Orleans?
Well, the shipmate that I'm referring to is my partner, Tanya.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she knew what she was getting into before you moved to New Orleans and were a waiter at Commanders?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, we had many long hours of conversations on the ship. She being a native New Orleanian.
Oh, okay. See that.
And she had New Orleans to compare ship life to. I thought the ship was great. I probably could have stayed on the ship forever. But she saw something. She saw potential there that I couldn't recognize because of the fact that I'd never been here.
Uh-huh.
So you moved to a place where you're still surrounded by water. Yeah, just like the ship.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I would never go back.
It's a much bigger ship.
Yeah, it's a much bigger ship. You're absolutely right. You're right. And much denser anyway. There's the nooks and crannies. I mean, like Lillette is to Tanya what Bayona is to Sandra for Argyle. And I'll tell you one other thing I love about
that again. That's deep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lillette is to Tanya, my partner.
Yeah.
What Bayona is to Sandra, Argyle's partner.
Oh, that's her favorite.
Yes.
Oh, we love Lillette, too.
I think I'd like your partner because I go to Lillette by myself.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's a
My
wonderful
husband
place.
goes out to hear music.
Yeah.
First, I go out and eat and come home, and then he goes out to hear music. And Lillette is one of my favorites to go.
I like
I'm
going to
very
Lillette
comfortable
and
by
then go
myself
next
there.
door to Bologna Tavern and having drinks over there, too. That's great. That's some of the best drinks in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I concur. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys go to Lillette a lot?
I'd have to say not as much as we want, but we get there as often as we can.
Now, how's your schedule? Is your schedule? What does she do for? Oh, is she still doing the?
Well, no,
boats?
no. When she came back, her contract with the cruise ship company ended sooner than mine, so I got stuck out there without her for a while, and we continued to sort of see each other over the phone, if you will, until eventually I got free and I was able to come join her. But she had started running an art gallery in Central City, and that went on
which
for a number.
one?
The Big Top. Three-Wing Circus.
Oh,
on
yeah.
Clio.
Yeah. Wow, she
That's a
ran
cool
that?
spot.
Yeah.
She still run that?
No.
Okay.
About 9 months ago, 8.5 months ago now, we had our first child.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And on day 3, she realized she could no longer consider the possibility of going back. So she passed the torch on to these gals who she had been working with. And so they now continue on the work there at the Big Top, which is a 501c3 not-for-profit venue that helps a lot of the artists that don't have a body of work big enough to, say, show on Julia Street.
Right.
Get introduced to the art-loving culture here in New Orleans. So, you can go check it out. It's a little hard to get to. It's in Central City. It's at night mostly when things are going down. So it's not really off the beaten or even on the beaten path in any way. So, it's almost like...
Yeah, but Central City, I mean, what's happening in O.C. Haley, for example, is just really...
This is true. I can't take that away from you.
It's
You're
a lot like
right.
Ferret.
No, you're right.
In Uptown, near me, yeah.
And highly overdue.
And that's all a bunch of
highly
motivated
overdue, that's right.
girls over there, because they used to put on art shows in people's homes, right?
Right.
And then
you're
turned
going
into,
way back. You're going back into the...
So that's a good group of...
I love when she does that. I love, like, your long New Orleans memory.
Oh, yeah. She's
You're younger than me,
back.
I think, but you're like...
you're going back to Tracy and Adele and, and Kira. Yeah, you're right, exactly.
Wow.
So she's a...
It's going way back, right.
Well, that's great.
But anyway, she has moved on, and she is now working...
as a mom?
Well, no. Yes, of course. But she's now working with Jazz and Heritage Foundation, and she's put on the Treme Gumbo Fest. She's the market quarter for them and Bayou Boogaloo. And,
wow.
Tell us her first name again. So
Tanya.
Tanya.
Like my beloved revolutionary Tanya.
What's her last name?
Vidal, as in Sassoon.
I know,
but not
Tanya,
the same family.
I thought for a second it was going to be her. Okay, got it.
Well, I'm going to put y'all on the spot about now. I'm going to ask you each to pick a number. And I'm going to start with you, Argyle. Between 1 and 217, and we are going to flip through this book that was very popular in 1982. And you have to answer the question that we asked. This is called the Book of Questions.
Okay.
So,
no pleading the fifth.
Yes.
You can lie to us, but you got to answer it.
So please pick a number.
Sure, 17.
17?
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh.
17.
So confident in 17. What's 17?
I have no idea.
Will you read it tonight?
Sure, I'll read it.
Number 17.
I will definitely read it. Argyle, would you be willing to become extremely ugly physically if it meant you could live for 1,000 years at any physical age you choose?
I think I'm already working on that.
Come on, you're New Orleans sexy.
I'm going like, actually, I'm getting a little uglier every day. This answer is easier to answer every day for me.
If a man doesn't put on at least 5 to 10 pounds when they first either marry a New Orleans girl or move to New Orleans, then I think they're doing something wrong.
They're
because,
not doing it right. That's
you're not enjoying life. So I'm not saying that's what.
Come on, you're going to affect his
I'm
answer.
not saying anything about. Okay, go ahead.
You're prejudicing his answer.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's physical is one part. The rest comes from within.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming for the moment that means live for 1,000 years, healthy.
Healthy.
Yeah, healthy and not in pain. That would be
yes,
good.
Yes. Okay, so you'd be fine with living for 1,000 years.
Yeah, I think it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's enough technology that I can guess about that I won't get to see as it is. And you think about, people like my grandfather who, if he were still alive, he would be about 102. Mm. And you think of what's happened in the last century. It's amazing. Huh. Absolutely amazing. And I think it'd be really cool to see what happens next.
Yeah, he was born. There were no airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I can't even imagine things changing that much, though,
and
as it
single
has the past
phone lines
years.
were a new thing. It was all party lines.
World War I hadn't happened yet.
That's right. That's right.
Wow.
Okay. Excellent. All right, Tree, are you ready?
Go for it.
Pick a number, please.
I'll do 180.
Determine your fate. Okay.
You know what we've never had yet? We've never had anybody pick the same number. We got to decide ahead of time if we're going to allow that.
That would have been really good. That would have been really good.
Sure, 17.
17.
Okay, you're invited to a party that will be attended by many fascinating We've asked this question on another show.
It's so funny. Two people picked the same number.
Out of 217, what are the odds? Play the lottery tonight.
Yeah, all right. Well, do you mean to pick another
this
question?
one. Well, I'm going to tell it to you, but we need to make it more complicated because
we'll have to add something
more fascinating people you've never met. Would you want to go if you had to go by yourself and naked? Because who wouldn't go by themselves to a party in New Orleans?
To me, that's a very 1982 question. Like, like what's wrong with people?
People can't hang out by themselves.
That's
in
early Reagan
1982.
era. You can tell, yeah. Everybody's.
So did you throw in the naked thing?
Yes,
I did.
No, I did.
This is her gift.
Would you have the balls to go to a party naked? If are you wowing because I said balls
I'm
to
just
him?
wowing in general. I just like to hear the word balls.
Yeah, of course I would.
Naked?
Yeah, I would go naked in a heartbeat. I bicycle uptown naked all the time.
Whoa! Stop! Wait. Forget that question. Let's transition into that. Bicycle naked in Uptown.
Yeah.
You live in Uptown?
I live in the 12th Ward. 12th Ward's the best ward.
Yeah, okay.
But sometimes...
Where in Uptown do you bicycle naked? Not that I want to go camp out there. I'm just
Is that a liberating?
It really is. It really is.
Have you been arrested yet for this?
No, not yet. I keep
expecting
you will now, though.
Yeah,
I don't like it too political
I keep
here,
half
but things are
expecting.
changing.
Yeah, no, I keep
Yeah,
half
people listen to this show.
Yes, it's okay. It's okay.
The political atmosphere is changing here. I think you're going to. That's when we know New Orleans is going downhill, and it's becoming an American city when they start arresting nudists for riding their bikes around.
But let me tell you, forget just the nudist part. Forget just the nudist part.
So you do anything else naked? Well, go ahead.
No. Just check it out.
Bicycling?
Let's just say you get arrested while you're naked.
Yeah.
And you've got no ID. That's balls.
Yeah.
That's balls.
Because
you've got no ID. Yeah, because where do you carry your ID when you're naked?
Then you spend an extra day in New
You've
Orleans
thought
Parish
about
prison.
this bicycling naked.
And by the way,
where
that's
do you
the only
keep your
place
ID?
in New Orleans I don't want to visit.
I want to say it's an effing rush. It's a rush. You don't need drugs when you're doing that. You can go stone cold sober, and it's a rush.
So you don't carry an ID?
No.
Yeah, because, I mean...
And you buzz La Bonté Roulette, La Bonton Roulette, naked. It's a rush.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. All right, I'm keeping an eye out for this. If I see it, I won't turn you in. I'll know who it was.
Now, if Ray
leap
starts
off your bicycle onto some kid's rope swing.
I'm going to start walking to restaurants naked. It's going to be my thing. All right.
Commanders, next time.
Commanders naked. Let's see more of
Commanders.
You guys are laughing. You're acting all cool. Guessing Commanders. Nice.
Okay, y'all are,
Commanders Commando.
Y'all are very professional there.
Yeah, but
and
if I
you
show up
probably know how
naked,
to handle any situation.
Brooke wouldn't let you in. I'd let you in.
Like, one of my questions was going to be about Commanders, like if you have a table that's lingering. I had this serious question, but what...
No, I don't want to get off the naked thing just yet.
Okay,
though.
so
wait,
who would handle that if someone came in a suit and a jacket and tie, but naked from the waist down?
Daytime or nighttime?
Nighttime.
I'm gonna let Argyle.
Who would be? How would they handle that? Would they just smile? And is that in the manual?
You greet them and you inform them that unfortunately they're not dressed for the code. We do have a dress
you could
code.
Say,
so how often do you send people
Can
away
you use that
most
anytime
days,
you want?
Most days, at least once.
Yeah, people tend to show up in short pants, and we have a dress code. Men,
I don't like seeing men in shorts. It makes the meal's not as good. I stopped wearing shorts after going to Italy in 1998. I've worn them since in my 20s.
We've made an exception.
Men's knees are gross.
One was a veteran who came in who had lost both legs below the knee.
Oh.
So his legs were in fact covered by the shorter pants he was wearing. Cool.
Oh, well,
absolutely.
But essentially, in his case, I don't want to be too.
Exactly.
I don't want to be too crude, but
exactly.
In his case, the shorts were long pants.
Exactly.
Right.
As far as the rest of it, if a guy wants to come in wearing a kilt and is wearing proper socks and everything else, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
It is formal wear.
Right.
We've had women occasionally coming in designer shorts, and you can't do it. But if you have a scarf, you can make a skirt out of that. There are ways of getting around things.
Huh.
The whole thing is slightly upscale, a little dressy, and that's part of it.
Yes.
And people might be put off by it at first, but when they start getting into it, they understand it's part of the atmosphere, and it really does work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There are those of us who think that commanders should have kept the jacket and tie requirement for men.
Now, when was that jettisoned?
That died with Katrina.
Interesting.
Oh, really?
Now, wasn't Commander shut down after Katrina for a little while for renovations, right? They spent about $6 million, I think I read, renovating.
13 months.
13 months. That must have killed some people in town. But when it reopened, it must have just been glorious, huh?
Yeah. It's essentially the restaurant came to a halt for the same reason everything else did.
Before Katrina?
No, when Katrina hit.
Okay.
And the problem is we had some structural damage to the building, and when Hurricane Rita came through a few weeks later, everything else got soaked because they hadn't been able to get the repairs done. And the mold goes from that. So they had to literally take the entire building apart, go for mold remediation, replace the structural damage,
Wow.
and put it back together. Now, when I came in, I moved to New Orleans in 2006. I came down here in July. Get paperwork signed with the university, arrange for an apartment, and all that jazz. And I went over to Commander's to interview. And the kitchen, at that point, was raw concrete and conduits. They had little work lights hanging around. And I've seen restaurants in the building stages before. So it's fine. I recognize what was happening. But it's a phenomenal amount of work.
Huh.
They essentially rebuilt the restaurant and opened it 130 years old, brand new.
Wow. Incredible.
So when y'all experienced Katrina, what was it like for you? Even before Katrina, like, did they get everybody together and say, we're gonna, you have to evacuate and leave? Did everybody stay? And after Katrina, how did y'all stay in touch with other
That's a question I'm not really able to answer. I was living in New York at that time.
Yeah, he came right
I was up in Oswego.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We came down afterwards for Gustav. We knew it was coming in. We knew we were going to be evacuating. 2 days before it hit, we came through and did a full triage on the food. And I got to tell you something. A Commander's Cheesecake is a wonderful, wonderful refugee host gift. I had some people in Memphis who were very happy with me. We got the place closed up, boarded up. We came back 5 days later, cleaned it out, put it back together, and got on with it. Katrina was a little bit different just because it took so long. The city itself was without power for a long time.
Right.
And then you have to do the cleanup, the rebuilding, and everything else. And then they had to restaff. And in that time, unemployment benefits for waiters are not terribly much.
Yeah.
And people had dispersed, and some people started putting down roots where they were and decided to stay there. Some people came back. I think we had some good percentage of people who did come back for it, and most of those did not stay at Commander's for more than a year after that.
Huh.
It's an interesting situation. I sort of walked in on the tail end of it, so I had no context for knowing what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I knew is that it was a fine place to work, and we were busy as all get out. And that was good.
Argyle, I haven't a word you said since you said cheesecake. I hear about every third word.
Well,
I get fixed on cheesecake.
Speaking of their
I can
cheesecake,
say
You're going to take away my
It-
cheesecake story?
no, I'm not
Okay,
going to
go
take
ahead.
away. Well,
My quick question, really, but go ahead.
we might be psychically linked. I doubt
think
it,
we are.
but I understand it takes a long time to make the cheesecake,
Here we
right?
go, yeah.
And I learned that from the man who ate New Orleans. I mean, I know how fabulous it is, but I just heard it again in watching that. That
Takes about 5 days.
so that
Crazy.
is not a shortcut.
Nope.
And that we have this thing on our show where we ask folks about a shortcut, that we're not trying to find out some juicy, way your restaurants are cheating people, but honestly just trying to learn, like, if there's a shortcut in what y'all do that would save you time but not affect quality, but something interesting that you can't shortcut the cheesecake.
No.
But it, as being in the wait staff, and is there something that you
You
can
run out of an
tell us-
ingredient, there's something that you can substitute that's
Or-
quick and easy,
or
or
to a process thing that you do, that you're required to do, that takes a long time, like you said, folding the table
Wait a minute. Are you
cloth.
talking about food or service?
Well,
Well, it could be
with
either one.
y'all, I would like to know about service.
it's usually a
because-
chef kind of question, but you could reimagine it. It's a service
Or
one.
you could tell us some secret chef shortcut from
Yep.
Commanders, but
The chef, they really don't use shortcuts. It's classic long style cooking, and that's why the food is the way it is.
yeah.
It's just like if you do X, you get Y, and if you do something else, you get something else.
Yeah, it would.
So
not
you're no
be-
help to us whatsoever.
Not really. I will tell you one of the things we do for the bar. Certain of the cocktails we make,
Here
some
we
of the
go.
more involved ones, the ones that don't necessarily involve a lot of fresh juices and such, can be batched. Not all drinks can be batched, but if you have, say Crescent City coolers, right? You got guava rum, you got your bitters and all this other good stuff. You put it all together, you can make that by the gallon.
Huh.
Now it still has to be, shaken with ice and have the soda added,
and it's all the quality.
and all the quality is there. But you're doing a bunch at once.
And that
Brandy
can
milk
last
punch is
together a
classic-
while like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Brandy milk punch is another one that works very well with that.
On brunches.
And, it's the bad thing about that is I know how to make it, so there's no escape.
There's no escape.
What's your answer, Tree?
Well, for me, I've said this before and I'll say it again, and this is all to my mentor, Miss Carol, in the front of the house. God bless her. I love her to death. You can set a table during a rush, but you cannot rush setting a table.
Huh.
And that's just the way I see it.
Right. It's not worth it.
It goes along with that maintaining the serene facade and paddling like mad underneath. You can't appear rushed. That's.
Huh.
Well, it's like, I tell so many of the back waiters who, come in and they look a lot like I did when I first got there, just hungry, wanting to have that air of professionalism to what it is that they're seeking, and I feel that they're paying attention. When I feel they're paying attention, I say, look, not everybody who comes here eats here every day. This could be some guy out in the Metries, one kick at the can.
Yeah.
His wife's been talking about wanting to go do this forever, and he has been saving up his pennies, right? And so here they come. They're coming up the stairs. The guy has got, a couple $100 in his pocket. Wife's all excited. She's put on her best new dress. And they walk into the room, and they walk up to the table, and the napkins are askew, and the forks aren't parallel, nothing is squared on the table. And what does that table scream? We weren't anticipating you.
Huh.
He made the reservations 3 months ago in advance of the anniversary to make sure that the time and the date was right. You know what I'm saying? He saved up his money. He ironed his damn pants for once.
Right.
And he's coming up the stairs, and this table looks like shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And, to me, that is the boom. It doesn't even matter what you do after that. You just burst the bubble.
Right.
You burst the bubble. And now you're playing catch up. You're from behind the rest of the night. You've got to go so far over the top at that point.
Huh.
Whereas if you just took the time to slow your roll and calm your mind, you know what I'm saying, and set that table like, yay, we knew you were coming at 8:30 because we did.
Huh.
We know your name. We know why you're here. We know you're celebrating that 35th anniversary. We know this already.
Huh.
Right? And so that table is set, and when you approach the table, boom, now you're on easy street at that point. Everything you do at this point is just blowing their mind instead of blowing their bubbles.
Huh.
Yeah.
And so for me, no shortcuts. No shortcuts. That's the way I see it.
All right. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Well, it makes me think of, I tell a story sometimes when I try to illustrate what makes New Orleans different, and talking about the sort of the totality of the approach of some of the fine restaurants in New Orleans, where they really, a lot of places where I grew up in New York and so forth, the food would be great, but the service is almost intentionally rude because they're trying to show that this is an elite place, And you don't get that in New Orleans as much, and especially not in Commander. It's so down to earth.
Yes.
And yet at the same time, this attention to all the detail, like you talk about, and the excellence, and to me, the best illustration I think I've ever had of that, of just the incredible over-the-top hospitality. And the warmth was, again, that chef's table night, 10 or 11 courses. And we get to the end of it. Of course, Argyle's the, perfect, sublime, whole nother level of service or whatever. And then we get to the end of it. And I'll tell you what, after about 11, what are they, half drinks, really, basically? Half a glass of wine each time?
Yeah.
So you've had about 5.5 glasses of wine, and you've been gorging yourself, for hours. My memory starts to get a little fuzzy at the end of the last course, but what sticks out is the cheesecake again. I'm going back to the cheesecake. Okay. You're eating these meals, and they're pretty, significant courses each one. I mean, they're not thin. I mean, some are smaller than others, but then you get dessert. I'm expecting a little something, and then Argyle brings out 6 full-size beefy desserts that aren't just delicious, but they're big. For the two of us, my wife and I. So we get about 3 desserts each, and I'm trying my best because it's so good, but I can't get more than about a forkful of each down, And And I look over at Argyle. He's smiling. He's seen this happen so many times. And I said to him, I said, Argyle, like, has anyone ever finished the dessert? And he laughs like, of course not. Why would you even ask that? And he told me a story about the Tulane football team that came their freshman year, I think, and they had this great meal. Some sponsor took them out to that, and then they came back right before graduation. They decided we're gonna do it again. This time we're gonna finish the dessert. Big giant guys, and they never even came close. And I pondered. I went home and I thought about it. I've been thinking about it for a couple of years now. Why do you do it then? I mean, it just kind of cuts into the profit. Why would you do that? And to me, am I right? To me, it's a sign of just overwhelming hospitality. It sends a message. It's not even about the food at that point. It's to say we love you and we're glad you were here. And you can't even eat this. We all know it, and we're gonna give it to you anyway because we want to show that we're never gonna skimp.
That's right.
Am I right on that?
That's it in a nutshell. I mean, it's like we try to give you a little bit of everything because it's what we're doing all night. It's just a little more visual and tactile than most.
Yeah.
And it's. I mean, from my perspective, it's fun watching people's faces light up because we're getting back to touching somebody's inner 4-year-old. You know, you look at it, oh my God, oh my God. They can't believe their eyes.
You just improved the story for me. Thank you. I told that story 100 times. Now I can do it better. I go, my inner 4-year-old came out. Oh, perfect.
Oh, yeah. Same thing happens with the pancakes at brunch, by the way.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Something I haven't had yet. Oh, good.
You need to.
Right.
Yeah,
Have you had that, Margot?
Not the pancakes, no.
Oh, you've probably been to Commanders 100 times growing up here and all, right?
Not 100, but I remember probably every experience. And I went as young. My family, they didn't, growing up here, people bring kids, but we're ready for it, you know.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
My son, we asked him 747 restaurants in New Orleans. We asked him where at least that was what it was when I finished my quest. I'll probably more now, but we asked him where he wanted to eat, and he's been to a couple hundred probably, just hanging around with me, maybe 300, and he picked Commanders as a place he wanted to go for his birthday, and still he brags to his friends. Still, he's not that kind of person. He enjoys food. He's at least vocal of the four of us in the family, and he still brags on Commanders all the time. Works it into the conversation.
Well, we'll keep a table for him.
He'll remember the rest of his life where he was sitting. He'll remember what he ate. That's the kind of meals you have at Commanders, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've eaten there a few times with my wife. I know where I was sitting each and every one because, it's that distinctive.
So, Tree, how many times did you eat at Commanders before you started working at Commanders?
How many times had I eaten?
Had you had a meal there before you worked there?
No.
Wow.
No. I remember distinctly one of the questions being asked in my interview by Don, who is God on Earth for us, or Brer Fox if you were Brer Rabbit.
He says, always analogies.
Yeah, he says, you know, have you ever heard of us? And I remember I said no, I can't say that I have. But it was when I got up and left his office and was headed out of the restaurant on my own. I was walking back through the bar into the kitchen, seeing the chef's table from the other side, and all of a sudden it was like tumblers in the lock. I was like, wait a minute, I have seen this on the Food Network like a dozen times. You know, it was like I'd answered no honestly.
Yeah.
But then it was seeing the kitchen from the camera's point of view.
Yeah.
That it was like kapow. But just real quick, can I go back to the dessert question real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because I've got a distinct philosophy on this. Every other restaurant that I've ever been involved with, and has been many, so many I've forgotten how many restaurants, how many kitchens I've been in. Every other kitchen I've ever stood in would kill to have a fraction of the dessert sales that come out of that little teeny tiny room behind the chef's table.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, I wondered why this was. I mean, like, why is it that everyone gets dessert?
Yeah.
No one skips dessert at Commander's Palace. And this goes back to your dessert bomb question, right? And I started observing and paying attention, and everything is made fresh twice every day.
Wow.
Except for the cheesecake, which takes 5 days to make, right? But fresh pecan pie baked twice every day. Bread pudding souffle baked to order with whiskey cream sauce. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, nobody skips that. They stick their foot in it every single shift. And there's like 9 full-time pastry chefs, more than any pastry chef I've seen. 9 full-time pastry chefs.
Not 9 at once.
Well, they're 9 full-time employees working in that little shop.
Wow.
Right? All the time. Right?
Wow.
And so, you know, I look back in my mind's eye, and I remember all the dining rooms that I have sat in before. And, you know, You're sitting there, and you see the waiter coming across with that fake plastic tray of desserts, and before they've even approached your table, before they've even opened their mouth, you're already shaking your head no. And I then asked myself, why is that? Well, of course, I know why. Because all those desserts were made in some central kitchen by somebody with absolutely no love for the dish whatsoever. They're just cranking them out till the shift is over. Then they're frozen for God knows how long in some deep freezer, sliced open by somebody who apparently can't even count, as one slice is invariably larger than the other. Microwave for 90 seconds. Blistering hot on the outside, stone cold frozen in the middle. Who wants that crap? But when the dish is made at the time you ordered your entree, I mean, who can resist that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Who can resist it?
Yeah.
And it's just an amazing thing. I mean, the dessert sales alone is just an amazing facet, one little small facet of this amazing restaurant. I like to call Commander's Palace my vortex of happiness.
It makes me think of something. I'm a pastor by trade, right? And there's a story you may be familiar of. Jesus makes wine. His first miracle, he makes all this wine. All the Baptists forget about this story, And that just insulted all the Baptists
here.
Thinking
it's raisin paste. They don't know what grapes do when they get crushed in hot weather.
Anyway, he makes the best wine after they've already been drinking for a long time. And somebody comments, like, why'd you say the best wine for last? We can't tell anymore, And I kind of feel that way with dessert at a lot of places. You've already had a big, robust meal at a fancy restaurant. You're not going to go to eat light. And by the time at the end, maybe some people slack off on the dessert because they figure, well, people aren't going to be able to tell the difference by this point anyway. They're kind of overwhelmed. But not Commanders. Commanders says we're going to be excellent from beginning to end.
Oh yeah.
From first to last.
Right.
And just because at the end of the meal we're not going to do like other folks do and stick it in the microwave,
Right.
we're going to make everything fresh and.
And this is exactly what Don says. From the time the bell rings to the time the bell rings.
Yep.
Up here.
If you're going to do it,
You don't coast at any point.
do it
That's
right.
all.
Right.
and there's really only one way to do that.
Wow. Well, we're running out of time. Did you have another question? I had one more. You have
Go ahead.
You sure?
I could keep them here all night, but no, please go ahead.
All right. Well, this is okay. I'm always fascinated. Another thing that makes it seems magical to me about Commanders, sets it apart, is that I go there and it seems like it's once every few months, it's 6 months, whatever it is. And I was there for lunch about 2 months ago with a friend, and I walk in, and it's like they know exactly who you are.
I want to hang out with you outside the show. Okay, sorry.
Let's
go ahead.
do it this week. No, not this week.
You'll eat well.
Yeah, but I mean, I walk in and they act like they know. I mean, there are details that come out, and you go. So, is there a database? Is that what happens? Is somebody entered? Is there a secret a database where this is entered into? Because there's no way everybody remembers. I'm not that memorable. I'm a little memorable, not that memorable.
More than you might think, but we do keep a certain amount of notes.
So when you make a reservation, it's checked against that database, and there's some. Are you giving away a trade secret here?
Well, I know, for instance, we get regulars on the chef's table. If you're coming in on the chef's table, and if you've been there within the last 3 years, I know what you had.
Wow.
I have records what you ate, what you drank, and part of my job is to make sure that none of the stuff you had before comes out again.
Crazy.
As a reminder to chef, because we do things by season and cycle.
Okay, no one does that in New Orleans. You're it. It's just Commanders. Nobody else does that. I can't imagine. It's too sophisticated. It's too much work for New Orleans. They intend to do that. There's 100 other restaurants listed right now, but we're going to start doing that tomorrow, and they're never going to get around to doing it.
I'll give me a year and see what happens.
Well, we got to wrap up. Any other closing comments, Margot? I think we're out of time. I hate this. We're going to have you guys back. This was. I'd like to do this for about 3 more hours. Cool. Anything?
No, because once I keep going, they will not be able to leave. So.
Well, after we turn off the mics, we'll continue this conversation. Thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you.
What a blessing to have you here.
Yes, thank you all so much. Really wonderful.
This has been Midnight Menu Plus One. You can find us on itsneworleans.com, where you can find other great shows about New Orleans, and you can also see. I don't have my script with me. We're gonna have to edit that part in. I can't remember that big long part.
That's all right. We hope they just enjoyed the show.
Let's do the thing where you thank the guest.
Oh, right.
Okay. This has been Midnight Menu Plus One, and Ray and I would like to thank Tree and Argyle from Commander's Palace, spending a wonderful evening with us here.
It's been delightful.
Thank you, Margot.
Thank you all very much.
Good night.
Labor Day signals the unofficial end of summer, but not the end of your outdoor projects. Lowe's helps you do it right and helps you save with Labor Day deals throughout the store. Shop now and get 2 bags of Stay Green potting mix for $12. And keep your lawn looking neat and trim with a Craftsman 2-cycle 17-inch gas string trimmer, now $20 off at just $119. Whatever's still on your to-do list this Labor Day, do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Offers valid through 8/28. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii. U.S. only.